And gentlemen, turn your mute button off. This is the Draft Room. That's what it is. This is the NFL Draft Podcast of the Packernet Podcast Network. It's been a little while. We just went through, obviously, the, what has changed with all the free agency stuff and whatnot. And obviously, those things are continuing to evolve. News is pouring in as we speak, kind of on a minute-by-minute basis. But I do think it's been a while since we've done a mock draft. I figured it's a draft show. We should do those probably pretty regularly. We'll do a first-round mock plus teams without a first-round pick again. We'll do their first picks. And that'll be that. Again, these do take a while, so I don't want to take up any more time than is necessary. So with the first pick, the Las Vegas Raiders obviously are going to be taking Fernando Mendoza. Not a lot to say about this one. This one's been pretty locked up tight. The drama for the Raiders obviously has much more to do with Max Crosby and how they continue to build around Mendoza. As for the Jets, there's been a ton of hubbub about some other things. Sonny Styles is flying up the board. David Bailey is still a talk. Probably not so much Ruben Bain, but Arvell Reese is still the odds-on favorite to be the Jets' pick at number 2. They have done a ton to try to revamp this defense. They've already got Will McDonald. They added Joseph Asai. They got Minkah Fitzpatrick. On the interior, they added not just Tavondre Sweat, but David Onyemata. They also added Kingsley Enagbare, the pass rusher. So they have been kind of running wild to get this defense fixed up. And presumably, Arvell Reese is supposed to be the main engine of this thing. As for the Arizona Cardinals, it's funny. If you look at some of the betting markets, the favorite has been for basically since the beginning of this, which started January 27th, Maui Noa. Maui Noa was the odds-on favorite. There was a switch that took place March 9th, in which a new guy took over. And it's funny because as I was looking at it, I was like, I don't know, man. I would probably go in a different direction. I understand Maui Noa is a right tackle, but I don't know. And the biggest thing that kind of threw me is the rumors that apparently Josh Sweat is possibly, there's some trade rumors out there that they may be moving him. So, some good pass rush options. Why don't we go in that direction? Well, starting around the 9th, do you know who overtook Maui Noa? David Bailey. So we are going to follow suit with that. With the third pick in the draft, the Arizona Cardinals select David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Titans obviously have a lot of work to do. I don't really agree with the consensus, although I will end up going with the consensus on this. Look, my perspective is this is a terrible football team that has a lot of work to do. You should be focusing on premier positions. A tackle would be a phenomenal investment. A pass rusher is an absolute freaking need for this team. I know you went out and got Jermaine Johnson. That's awesome. I'm just saying, I would probably still get another one. Corner, despite the fact that you went out and got Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott. And I know it's not great right now. I'm just saying, in general, even if we're not super high on Mansour Delane this early, positionally, that would be more valuable. Quarterback, same thing if there was one worthwhile. I don't think I would super want to go, tight end, running back, linebacker in this moment. In fact, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to. I'm going to do what I think makes sense. I'm not going Jeremiah Love. I don't give a crap that's stupid to me. Tajay Spears, first of all, is a good running back. We don't have any freaking offensive linemen here that make any sense. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Maui Noa would make sense, but he is seen as pretty strictly a right tackle. I don't know everybody's consensus on that, but we kind of have two right tackles. I really would prefer a left tackle. Not taking Sonny Styles because I don't know exactly where we're going to fall on that whole situation with linebacker and whatnot. Caleb Downs, the safety, is not terrible, but again, I'm not doing that at 4. I'm not taking Jeremiah Love at 4. Carnell Tate is a very real option. We did go get Wan'Dale Robinson, which is nice for the slot. It would be a nice way to help Cam Ward to see if we can kind of do something there, possibly taking the spot of Iomanner. However, this is a Robert Saleh team. This is a team that wants to win up front with the front four. Our front four is kind of awful. Even Jermaine Johnson, I don't know what the hype is around him necessarily. I think he had, a couple good years early. 2024, the injury happened. 2025 was definitely a big step back. We got Jeffrey Simmons, who's, coming up on 29 years old, very good, but he's getting up in age. Jordan Elliott is dog crap. Oladeo, the second-round pick that's still there off the edge, really not very good. I just don't think we have a lot of talent. So I'm going to find, hopefully, which is going to be a really good trio with Johnson and Simmons, and we're going to go ahead and add Ruben Bain to that front. Didn't really make up my mind until right now, but we're doing a what I would do draft and not a what everybody else thinks is the right thing to do draft. For the Giants, the odds-on favorite is Sonny Styles, the linebacker. Okay. I mean, I get it. He had a great combine and everything. I guess I understand. We've got a pretty good defensive line. We're going to get some linebacker to come in and do some damage, I guess. But we just went out and got Tremaine Edmunds. Not that I'm a huge Tremaine Edmunds fan, but he's not even 28 years old. We clearly already invested in that. We have very serious needs on the offensive line, at the cornerback position. You could argue safety with Caleb Downs would make more sense. But I'm just not of the opinion that Sonny Styles makes the most sense here. I mean, I guess I understand it from, well, he's the best player, so just go get him, which, honestly, in that case, it would be probably Jeremiah Love, but I'm not doing that either. What I do think we need desperately is, as I said, offensive line help. We have one guy in Andrew Thomas that's a really solid football player. We have Evan Neal that we're going to, I guess, leave at right guard. He was a number 7 overall selection, but he is not good at football. Runyon at left guard is not good. John Michael Schmitz at center is not good. And Jermaine Illuminor is 31 years old and not good at right tackle. This couldn't really be much more obvious. The heck am I taking a linebacker for when I already invested in linebacker when we need an entirely new offensive line and Maui Noah is sitting right there? The dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. So we're taking Maui Noah. Cleveland Browns are sitting here at 6. Obviously, we have no idea what we're doing at quarterback. I just saw recently the, hubbub about who might be starting there, and it's all a big mess. Did quite a bit of work to try to help this offensive line already. Don't know how much good it's going to do, but we got Titus Howard at right tackle, Elton Jenkins at center, and Zion Johnson at left guard. So that's 3 spots we've helped to stabilize. Unfortunately, DeJuan Jones still not really doing it over on the left side. With that said, I will say this. If we're going to invest that heavily in the offensive line, especially the interior of the offensive line, but also, we got 322-pound Titus Howard now at right tackle. We also have a team that really doesn't have very good quarterbacks. We have a talented defense already, not that we don't have needs, but I think what we really need, sure, I could get a bad quarterback in here to try to see if he can throw the passes to talented wide receivers, or we could try to be smart and lean on a run game. So again, we went out and got Johnson, we got Jenkins, we already have the other Jenkins at right guard, and we got Howard. Jenkins at right guard, Tevin Jenkins is an absolute freaking powerhouse of a run blocker. Dominant. And doesn't that fit our identity anyways? What are we going to do? We're going to be some high-flying team? No, bro, we got Myles Garrett. We're a defense-driven team. Lean into the run. Let Shedeur have some easier plays off of that run game. Get some boot action going. Get some, scheme some guys open with some nice, easy throws. It's basically what they're doing in Chicago right now. Lean on the scheme. And you know what's going to help your scheme? If people are scared of your run. So at pick 6, the Cleveland Browns will select Jeremiah Love, running back, Notre Dame. Next up at 7, we got the Washington Commanders. This is it's a little bit tougher. I'm staring at a bunch of Ohio State guys. We got Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate. We're kind of in that range now where I think the value of the elite prospects probably outweighs, positional value. of some of the other guys, which leaves things wide open. I mean, Sonny Styles, I think, could work. We did go out and get Leo Chenal for whatever that's worth. I like him. Could be a Luvu replacement, possibly Sonny Styles. I think you can easily make the case either way for Downs or Styles, given Dan Quinn, that quarterback of the defense by Caleb Downs makes sense. But I think the versatility of Sonny Styles, that quote-unquote chess piece, is probably what's going to make the most sense for Dan Quinn and their defense. So, Sonny Styles it is. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints at pick 8. Saints are in a pretty tough spot as well. I'm guessing it just, is going to continue to get more difficult as we go. But, so, I mean, obviously it depends what consensus board you're looking at or whatever based on how valuable certain people are. But I would guess, if I had to guess, and that's all I'm doing, the most popular pick in this spot would be Carnell Tate. I don't hate it, but I wouldn't go that way. First of all, Olave is legit. He's a very good receiver. Devon Vele is a solid slot receiver. It's not to say that it wouldn't just take it over the top if we got a true X number 1 guy over here and we just have 3 good receivers. That's cool. But we have a lot of other deficiencies. And so my thought is that, first of all, the secondary in general, I'm not a fan of. Kool-Aid McKinstry is solid. Otherwise, we'll see what Quincy Riley can do. But you look at the safeties, what do we have? Justin Reed, 29 years old, struggles with injuries. We got Julian Blackmon. I mean, he played, 1 week last year, and he's not really super great. I think you just got to take the blue chipper. There's one guy that's like a blue chip player left on the board, arguably. Just do it. Just take the guy. Kansas City Chiefs, I don't even really need to look at, and I immediately have a thought here. The first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that we've lost 2 corners to one team, in fact. I like Noel Williams. He seems like he might be something. Christian Fulton, maybe not quite as much. I don't know. We'll see. The safeties are not great. Again, we could go Carnell Tate and see if we give Mahomes a little bit extra help and all that good stuff. I mean, we have a tight end that's coming back, but that's like a 1-year thing and he's declining. Our best receiver is Rashee Rice. That guy is potentially going to face some serious suspension stuff. Xavier Worthy, he's also going through his own legal issues. I don't think anything's going to come of that, but, I mean, it's not a good spot to be in. I feel like I'm talking myself into this now. I might just go that direction instead. I was going to say but I don't know if I can at this point. We did bring in 2 DBs already with Alohi Gilman and Cater Kohu. Not to say that they're great football players, but enough to continue talking me into it. So I think we are going to try to lean into what works here, and that is Pat Mahomes. You could almost convince me to take a swing at Kenyon Sadiq, and if Carnell Tate wasn't here, I might even do that, just because of what we've seen them do with tight ends, and I wouldn't mind seeing them do what they can do with 2 tight ends. But, again, I don't know if Rashee Rice is going to play for majority of this season. I'm from just a quick search, it looks like potentially like a 10 to 12 game suspension. Xavier Worthy is fine. He's fast, but let's get a legit player on the other side. And if the Rice thing clears up, then we've just got a dominant group of guys. So Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. Cincinnati Bengals, they believe just added Jonathan Allen, I saw. Boye Mafe, not a lot else, though. So I think the defensive line was really the priority, which is why we ended up taking 2 swings at that. Still feels like, defensive line, linebacker are some of our biggest needs. And I'll tell you what, I don't love the way this is going. I don't know if I would dare do a trade here. I wasn't really planning on it, but I don't love this. Tempted at looking at left tackle to replace Orlando Brown. He's going to be 30 years old this year. Hasn't really been via PFF, hasn't been a top 20 tackle since 2022. We obviously need a lot of help on the offensive line. If we did look to trade back, what are we even doing here? We got Caleb Banks, maybe, but I don't like that so much. CJ Allen, Keem Mesidor, Keldrick Falk. Here's what I'm going to do, and it might be a little bit out there. I'm not going to trade. I'm not going to do any trades. Might depend what board you're looking at. I know, unlike the consensus board, this would be early. At least I think. I haven't really looked at it recently. But I think one of the things that they're trying to do is find sort of that complement to Jordan Battle. If Downs was here, holy cow, this would just be a very easy and beautiful pick. I think Mansour Delane could make sense. I just don't hate the guys that they have. Dax Hill is at least okay. DJ Turner seems actually pretty solid. Who's there? I guess Hill goes into the slot there. Josh Newton. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly go Mansour Delane and try to really lock that down. Actually, you know what? They went and got Brian Cook from Kansas City, so I am gonna let's just do that. So with the 10th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals will select Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU. Looking at the Miami Dolphins, I can't help but notice immediately the fact that we went out and got a quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback. He can do things in the run game, and we're going to have a lot of fun with Mr. A-Train here and Malik Willis. Not to mention Waddle and these fun little pieces. But we have to win up front. And I'm looking at what feels like the worst offensive guard group with some very pedestrian tackles. And so the fact that our corners are not good and our defensive line is not great. We did add Josh Uche. I don't think I care. We're going to try to win. I mean, we do have Jeff Hafley, and I suppose you should keep that in mind. The head coach is the one pulling he's not really pulling the trigger, but he's the one kind of dictating what the most important things are. But man, do we need offensive line help to support our quarterback. So, again, probably a relatively unpopular pick, but I don't care. We're going to go a touch early, probably. But it's just too easy of a decision here. Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State, is now a Miami Dolphin. Okay, let's take a break. We'll rip through the next 10, 11, 12-ish. Be right back. Dallas Cowboys have been all over the map recently. I don't know if they're trying to bring in defensive line help or get rid of defensive line people. I don't know. Osa Odighizuwa is gone. Rashawn Gary is in. So I kind of like our defensive line. I love our wide receivers, obviously. Even Ryan Flournoy is looking like a good football player. I guess my biggest issue here is this has been my thing for years is, they dominated when they had a really good offensive line. I like the interior. Not a big fan of the tackles. Tyler Guyton is looking like a swing and a miss at left tackle. That has to be a consideration. With that said, these corners, man, Savone Revel is really not looking great. He fell to the third round, had injury issues. Those popped up immediately, came in second half of the year. It was bleak. Jerron Bland is okay. He's nowhere near as good as everybody thought he was in 2023. I feel like corner's got to be the biggest need. And if we're going to invest in the defensive line, as I've been saying, what good is that if the ball can get out in 1.78 seconds? We have to be able to challenge them so that they're holding the ball in their hands for a little bit of time. So, with that, I'm going to have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. As for the LA Rams, there's a lot to like about this team. There's no question about it. Couple things stand out. I think on the defensive tackle side, you could make an argument for a guy like Caleb Banks. Not that I don't really like their players, but outside of Kobe Turner, you've got Poona Ford, who's 30 years old, and then you've got Braden Fisk, who honestly is just not really doing great. If everybody's kind of winning with the trenches right now, you want to make sure that you still have a very stout front. We've done a great job of getting these pass rushers, which has taken a long time for us to finally get that. We got that. Jared Verse is fantastic. Byron Young looked really good last year. You want to keep the fire stoked. That said, on the other side, I'm a little bit iffy on Warren McClendon. He had a pretty solid year last year. I just don't know if that's real or something I can actually trust. And there are options. And so I'm going to have the Rams drafting Monroe Freeling, tackle out of Georgia. He did play left tackle last year, but has right tackle experience. And so we're going to bring in the very, very strong, very big, 6'7", 315-pound, 21-year-old Monroe Freeling to hopefully win that right tackle job and keep this offensive line humming for a long time. Raiders at 14. I don't think they need a pass rusher, although according to them, they did want Max Crosby also on the team. So, who knows? Maybe they really did or really do still need that. Mostly just being sarcastic here. I do feel like we're kind of deteriorating here. The edge situation has obviously not been as good as it has been for a lot of their history. We're going to try to solve that with a really old guy, and we don't have a ton of great options. We could try to go get like Keldrick Falk or Akeem Mesidor and double up there. We need interior offensive line, and Vega Ioane is gone. We could get a tackle because Ronnie Stanley is 32, but I mean, are we kicking Ronnie Stanley out, or is he just going to, our first round pick's going to be benched for a year? So I can't fix this really bad offensive line, at least in the first round. A corner, I hate. Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey had a really bad year last year, his first one, and he's going to be 30. Would love to be able to address that. Not a lot of great options. Safety is not a huge need, or not a need at all. Linebacker's not really a consideration. Not super worried about interior. I mean, we could obviously add a third guy, but that's really not a priority. So the biggest thing that makes the most sense is getting some pass catchers for Lamar. The question is, are we looking for more Mekhi Lemon or a Kenyon Sadiq, with, Mark Andrews being 31 and kind of having his first down year this past year? Biggest issue I have with Mekhi Lemon is I feel like he's a little bit too similar to Zay Flowers, a potential slot guy. So I guess as much as I wish I could do something more impactful here. Baltimore Ravens at 14 select Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. Don't get me wrong, the guy's an absolute freak. We'll have Sadiq and Andrews, Sadiq the freak, and Mark Andrews along with Jackson and Flowers and Henry, and like we can do some damage here. I just feel like there's some things I'd love to do that we definitely need to do either with the remainder of free agency here or the remainder of the draft. But for now, we'll just go get a heavy hitter at tight end. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the docket. Added Ashawn Robinson on the interior, Alex Anzalone at linebacker, which is good. We definitely needed the linebacker help. As well as the defensive tackle help. I still think edge help would be nice. Corner help would be nice. Would have taken Sadiq. I am somewhat intrigued by Mekhi Lemon, but boy, I mean, Chris Godwin's 30. I at some point you got to move on. And I don't know that we have great receivers. We kind of got like number twos across the board here, including Emeka Buka. Although, he could take a step and whatnot, I'm just saying. With that said, though, again, I'm going to want to try to bolster up. The trenches here are just not great. I mean, we got good tackles, no question about it. Tristan Wirfs is an absolute beast. Luka Decky's a good right tackle. Yaya Diaby's fine. But even with Ashawn Robinson, I just, eh. Then again, I mean, if we did get Caleb Banks, he would be a Vita Vea replacement, and I don't want to, even at 31, I don't really want to do that. So I'll tell you what, with the 15th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Keldrick Falk, edge rusher, Auburn. New York Jets are back on the clock. What did they take? Arvell Reese with their pick at number 2. We have now thrown everything at this defense. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 free agents plus a pass rusher picked up, in addition to already getting Asai and Kingsley Enagbare in free agency. I don't know how we don't address the offense here. Now, the first question immediately is going to be Ty Simpson. Are we going to consider Ty Simpson in this spot? Honestly, I think the answer is no. We already went out and got Geno Smith. Not to say that that means he has to start or anything, but we still have a lot to clean up here. And I think this might be actually a decent spot for Mekhi Lemon. Either way, he could play opposite Garrett Wilson, whether that's in 2 wide receiver sets as just the opposite guy, or to come in and play in the slot, which we don't really have a lot of help there. We've got a good running back. We got some stuff going here on the offensive line. Membo looks pretty solid at right tackle. Fashanu looks like he's stepping up at left tackle. I don't like the center situation, but we did go get Dylan Parham at to play presumably left guard. So we're making some strides there. Let's add some additional firepower to this and go get Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. Detroit Lions trying to stop the skid here. Obviously, a couple years ago, they were on top of the world, and we've seen the offensive line. Everybody has just been out the door. Taylor Decker now out the door. We just basically have Penei Sewell hanging on with the hope that Tate Ratledge can continue to play pretty well at right guard, but we still have a lot to figure out. We brought in Isaiah Pacheco to help out with the running back duo thing that we got going on. But I think the 2 things that stand out immediately, number one, I mean, and obviously I'm a Packer fan, but as a just football fan, I've been annoyed that Aiden Hutchinson has just been kind of not gotten much help. A couple years ago, again, the defensive tackles were decent. Last year they had a billion injuries going on. Onwuzurike didn't really get a chance to come back in. Alim McNeil really took a step back with his injuries and whatnot. He did not play very well this past year. But, man, what does a guy got to do to get a freaking pass rusher on the other side? So, we could look Caleb Banks. Again, you're talking a 330-pound guy. So, that's going to be your, Alim McNeil probably replacement, which I don't think we necessarily want to do that. He's only 25 years old. So, for me, and my money, I would rather go with Akeem Mesidor, edge rusher out of Miami. Now, there is also the Avion Terrell discussion at cornerback, and I think that that's definitely something that they need to do. But, we got DJ Reed for another year or 2. We got some pretty solid safeties. Terrion Arnold probably is not going to become anything, but let's give him year 3 to kind of figure it out. Otherwise, we have a couple other rounds to kind of get this stuff figured out. But we got to get that front figured out. Can't waste this Aiden Hutchinson window that we have. Minnesota Vikings are at 18. Could probably go just about any direction. I mean, Dylan Thieneman, I think, would be a cool pick here after losing their longtime, safety that's been there. You could go linebacker, you could go defensive tackle, you could go pass rusher, you could certainly go corner. Offensive line needs help, especially on the interior, although with O'Neal being 30, you could make an argument for tackle. Tight end could be an option. Quarterback could be an option. Running back could be an option. I mean, you're kind of in just a best player available situation, I think. The question is, who is that best player? Now, according to this board, it would be Dylan Thieneman. I don't know. I think I'm just going to go with the easy path of least resistance here, probably the more popular direction that certainly makes sense. We're going to go Avion Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson. Carolina Panthers are at 19. Desperately needed some pass rush help and did end up locking up Jalen Phillips, which is going to be a big help to them. Also got Devin Lloyd at inside linebacker to help with that, another big need. And so I think I am going to pull the trigger at this point. Again, Caleb Banks as a defensive tackle doesn't really make sense because Derek Brown is the guy that's working at 6'5", 320. You'd look for a different type of defensive tackle, and that's not really prevalent in this draft class, the three-tech pass rushers. Again, we just went out and got a linebacker, so I don't know that C.J. Allen is necessarily top of mind. I mean, we could use a second one, but I don't know that that's the biggest thing. Cornerback, I'd be okay with, but the board just kind of, we could reach to Colton Hood, but I'd rather not. Kind of like our offensive line. The only thing that's maybe pulling at me a touch is wide receiver Jordan Tyson. We already have Teteroa McMillan. Jalen Coker is pretty good option here. Getting a third isn't going to hurt anybody. See if we can get Bryce Young. A real top tier, legit group of wide receivers. However, I think an area of need certainly is going to be safety. Morig is okay, specifically as the run defense, pass rush, box safety type of guy. We don't have that middle field safety, and there is a guy that dominated the combine with his athleticism and whatnot. Super gifted, super talented, and I think that the guy that can kind of patrol the back of the field is going to be an important piece for them. So we're going to draft Dylan Thieneman to the Carolina Panthers. Dallas Cowboys are back on the board. I had them taking cornerback Jermod McCoy with their first pick, which is good because that's not, again, a great option. And I actually kind of love where we're sitting right now because something that I wanted to do before was not necessarily available. And so this is going to be nice and easy for me. With the 20th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Spencer Fano, tackle out of Utah. The nice thing is we need both left and right tackles. So wherever it is you feel that he fits, I think right tackle is probably where a lot of people would like to put him. If he can play left tackle, let's do it. Tyler Guyton isn't working out super well, but, he's a first-round pick. Let's give him till year 3, maybe. I don't know. Terrence Steele is 29, also not very good. I don't really give a crap, but we need 2 tackles. We got one of them. Pittsburgh Steelers now on the clock at 21. Again, you could ask the quarterback question. I'm going to assume Aaron Rodgers will be playing here. We did go out and get Michael Pittman, so the very popular pick of wide receiver is probably not going to be top of mind right now. Rico Dowdle at running back. Jamel Dean at cornerback. These are pretty big swings here. There's one guy I have been talking about quite a bit that I think in this spot probably makes sense more than others, and that's Caleb Banks. Again, you're talking a 330-pound guy. We currently have Keanu Benton, who was a second-round pick back in 2023. He ranked 20th in 2023, 28th in 2024, and 66th in 2025. 76, 69, and 58 have been his grades, going kind of straight downhill. Obviously, we are a team that dominates up front with Highsmith, Watt, and Hayward. Hayward being like 37 years old. Highsmith is now about 29 years old. Watt is 31 years old. I mean, we have to keep this thing a-humming. And the only young guys we have are not really doing very good. So let's continue feeding this thing that is kind of kept us going all this time and draft Caleb Banks out of Florida. All right, let's do one more here before the break, and that is the LA Chargers. Chargers have been pretty active on the offensive side of things. Got 2 interior offensive linemen in Biotish and Cole Strange. Massive need. Still need a left guard, but that's 2 of 3 that we got worked out there, as well as Alec Ingold, the fullback. We did re-sign Khalil Mack for a year, which is nice, but I don't know that it really changes the massive need we have at edge rusher if we decide to go that direction. If we wanted to patch up that last interior spot, there's always Pregnon. I think from an edge perspective, you've got TJ Parker, you've got Cassius Howell. But right now, as I'm looking at it, Quentin Johnson has not super panned out. Trey Harris was my dude. He was kind of eh. Lad McConkey had a really good rookie year. Second year was kind of eh. I mean, these are three guys that should be better, at least McConkey and Johnson. And right now, none of them are panning out. Do we want to keep taking swing after swing after swing after swing? I don't know. It's a first and 2 seconds here we've already got. But at the end of the day, we have Herbert, and he's got a bad offensive line, bad receivers, and a decent running back. I mean, it's not a great situation. No tight end really to speak of. We have to get this right. So Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona State. All right, let's take our final break. We'll rip through the last of these picks as well as the teams that don't have firsts, and then we'll get out of here. We'll be right back. At pick 23, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. The one thing we definitely don't need is corner. That's clearly been established. We did lose out on Jalen Phillips, but I think we still got plenty of talent here. At least with Nolan Smith. I think Jalix Hunt is decent. And I guess we should maybe consider that. The direction I was looking at more so, however, was the safety spot. We have Marcus Epps and Andrew Makuba. I just don't know that I super love that. Obviously I'm thinking trenches when I think the Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't think I'm going to be drafting any tackles. I mean, Lane Johnson obviously is somebody to plan for if you can find a right tackle. The interior seems fine. A wide receiver with the A.J. Brown thing is a consideration. Omar Cooper Jr. is sitting there. It feels like a non-Eagles pick to make but it's not about the Eagles. It's about what I would do. Eagles, I feel like I need to find a big program guy to play somewhere in the trenches, like Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State or something, Kristen Miller, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Yeah, that feels like an Eagles pick, but Eagles aren't making the pick I am. So with the 23rd pick, we'll be selecting Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety out of Toledo. Browns are now back on the clock after taking Jeremiah Love at pick 6. And a little bit torn only because, so again, we've patched up the offensive line quite a bit with a right tackle, center, left guard, and we already have a right guard. That said, DeJuan Jones at left tackle is terrible, and I don't want to have a terrible left tackle also. It would be cool to have a really good offensive line, especially since we just got... we're trying to get the quarterback thing with potentially Shedeur or whoever figured out, but also to have a really good run game would be kind of cool. I guess my only question is, do we take Blake Miller and trust he can play left tackle because he's primarily a right tackle? Or do we draft a guy like Omar Cooper at wide receiver because we need some wide receiver help? I think Blake Miller's too much of a reach to move him over to left tackle, so... with the 24th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver, Indiana. Chicago Bears now on the clock at 25. We lost our center, but brought in Garrett Bradbury for what's that's worth. I think it's too early for a center anyways. DJ Moore is gone, but I don't know that wide receiver makes sense with Burden and Odunze already here. We brought in Devin Bush to replace Tremaine Edmonds. Cam Lewis, we brought in 2 safeties to replace 2 safeties. I think the obvious thing for the Bears is going to be anything along the defensive line, and so you're kind of in a best player available situation on the line. So with that said, the Chicago Bears select Cassius Howell, edge rusher, Texas A&M. Buffalo Bills now on the clock. They brought in Bradley Chubb, the pass rusher, D. Alford, the corner, DJ Moore at wide receiver. Kind of think this might be a good time for him to go as I'm looking around at some of the stuff that they have and don't have. Good, solid defensive front, but what they don't have is that next level at linebacker. It's just really, really not there. So the Buffalo Bills at 26 will select C.J. Allen, linebacker, Georgia. San Francisco 49ers are in a pretty tough spot here. Things are starting to erode. A lot of their top players are definitely getting up in age, as I've mentioned already. Could go in quite a few different directions. The area that immediately stands out, they did add Osa Odighizuwa, which is massive because I think probably the worst defensive line group in football, at least last year, had to have been the San Francisco 49ers. So Odighizuwa does help. Mike Evans at wide receiver, at least in the short term, should help. But man, oh man, I would take a safety. I think we need linebacker help. We still need defensive tackle help. We need edge rusher help. We need cornerback help. Wide receiver, tight end, because Kittle is he's 32. Offensive line with our left tackle being 37, going on 38. I don't even know if he's going to be coming back. McKivitz on the right side is 30. Spencer Burford at guard is not super great. Blake Brendel is not super great and is, how old is he? He's 34. Good Lord. But I think with that, you end up taking probably just looking at best player available type of thing. I am going to skip a little bit because, right tackle, yes, but I don't know. Defensive tackle, that's one of the areas we at least tried to address. So I'm going to go with TJ Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson. Yes, I know that they have Bosa. I also know that Bosa is 28 and coming off a pretty bad injury and doesn't have any help on the other side. So regardless of what even comes out the other side for Bosa, he doesn't have much defensive tackle help and much edge help. Houston Texans at 28 brought in safety Reed Blankenship, running back David Montgomery, Braden Smith for their right tackle spot. I think if it's me, first of all, you got to make sure Stroud is doing okay. Again, is Blake Miller going to come in and help? I don't really think so. He's got wide receivers. We could go out and get Concepcion to come in the slot, and then you got Dell Collins and Concepcion, but we got Jalen Noel already. I don't know. Maxi Honachor possibly to come in, replace Arianti Ursary, although he's a right tackle too. Oh, there we go. He's a little bit lower on this board, but I think that's going to be the pick. I was going to go in a different direction. I was going to go defensive tackle just because we've got elite edge rushers. PFF had them ranked number 1 and number 5, 2 top 5 edge rushers. However, Mario Edwards is 32 and not good. Tim Settle is 28 and kind of getting some actual defensive tackle help in there from a guy like Caden McDonald or Peter Woods or whatever would be pretty ideal. But we got to make sure our quarterback is set up first and foremost. Again, we got Braden Smith, who I think is going to play right tackle. I don't know, to replace Trent Brown-ish. He's 33. I don't know exactly what his status is, but the left side from center over to the left is still going to be a problem, especially left tackle. I know it's just his second year as a second-round pick, but he was bad. So, oh well. We will be drafting Caleb Lomu, tackle out of Utah. Kansas City Chiefs back on the clock. They took Carnell Tate, the wide receiver, at pick 9. I'd love to get some edge help here, but that's all pretty well been cleaned up at this point. So I think we'll go with the next best thing here. With the 29th pick, the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. The group here is not super fantastic outside of Chris Jones, and Chris Jones is 32 years old. So it's going to have to be addressed. Again, that entire defensive line is going to have to be addressed here. Karlaftis is trying to do what he can off the edge, but there's just not a whole lot going on here. Denver Broncos have been pretty quiet in the offseason. Again, there's a lot of defensive tackles sitting here, and it's to some degree appealing. DJ Jones is 31. Jordan Jackson is bad at football. Zach Allen is 29 and not super good at football. Wide receiver is certainly an option. We got Denzel Boston and Concepcion, whether we want to go outside or inside. I think outside of Cortland Sutton, who is 30 years old and kind of a low-end number one, probably wide receiver. And actually, Denzel Boston is a very Cortland Sutton type of receiver. They're both, 6'4". How big is he? 6'4", 209 compared to 6'4", 216. Obviously, as a one-to-one replacement, that's great. But while they're there on the same time, I think I'd rather kind of mix it up. So, with the 30th pick, the Denver Broncos select KC Concepcion, wide receiver, Texas A&M. New England Patriots are on the board at 31. Offensively, they went out and got Reggie Gilliam. They got Vera Tucker at guard. They brought in Romeo Doubs for wide receiver. Brought in Draymond Jones for their defensive front. Kevin Byard at free safety. I think this one's pretty straightforward. New England Patriots at pick 31 select Blake Miller, tackle out of Clemson. Morgan Moses is 35 years old. I don't even know if he's returning or what exactly his status is. Oh, yeah, he's still got this year and next year on his contract. All the same, the right tackle spot is going to need to be addressed here pretty quickly. So Blake Miller is going to come in and eventually take that job. Maybe sooner than later. Who knows? Then finally in the first round, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously have lost quite a few people here. And as far as the deficiencies go, I mean, I like the DBs. I like the wide receivers, the quarterback. A lot of this is solid. I would be a little bit leery of the edge group. Maybe look at a guy like Zion Young out of Missouri. Not a lot of other options. R. Mason Thomas. I will say, though, the one thing that certainly stands out that I think is worth investing in, it's not as premium of a position, but I think he's more of a premium player, is the interior offensive line. I don't like much about the interior offensive line, especially the right guard over here with Anthony Bradford. So we are going to select at pick 32, Emmanuel Pregnon, guard, Oregon. All right, as for the guys that don't have first-round picks, you got the Atlanta Falcons first at pick 48. The Atlanta Falcons, I mean, the first thing that you know about them is that they've been continually trying to find pass rushers. Leonard Floyd is now 34 years old. James Pierce they went and got. Wasn't a great rookie year. Certainly need some cornerback help. Probably could use some wide receiver help outside of Drake London. But I think we're going to stick on the edge rusher thing, and I am going to have them taking R. Mason Thomas, edge rusher out of Oklahoma. Next up, you got the Indianapolis Colts. They actually would be first technically. They're at 47, but whatever. The only real addition they've made is Arden Key as a pass rusher, which is good because outside of Latu, we could use some help there. But probably the biggest deficiency, and the Packers ended up sniping one of their guys, but linebacker is pretty rough right now. I mean, real rough. So I'm going to have them select Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech. Packers now on the board. They've got pick 52. Packers have gone out and added a few pieces. They got Zaire Franklin at linebacker, Hargrave at defensive tackle. I would love to take Jennings Dunker here at 54, but I think the Packers have more or less secured those spots, at least for now. I wish it wasn't necessarily the case, but I would lean toward that's kind of where the Packers' heads are at. Nose tackle is right at the front of my mind, and as many as there are, I just don't know unless, somebody falls. I mean, the next defensive tackle would be scrolling. My goodness. Grayson Halton, that's not even the right guy we need here. Dominique Orange is at 74. So that would just be an ungodly reach in the second round. Screw it. Packers select Jennings Dunker, offensive tackle, Iowa. I don't care. Banks and Belton were pretty bad. There's no nose tackles. There's maybe a corner, but it's not really one of the guys that I would be super excited about. Even Connor Lew is closer to like a 3rd round pick. I mean, I guess we could have gone Connor Lew there. You know what? I am going to switch it. We're going Connor Lew. As we talked about on Packernet After Dark, the benefit of going center is that it gives you the opportunity for Sean Ryan to play flex as a center guard. And so you've kind of got these competitions going on where Sean Ryan is competing with Connor Lew at center. Sean Ryan is competing with Belton at guard. So I think that does it is a bit of a reach, but I think it makes more sense. So we'll go with Connor Lew, center out of Auburn. And then the only other one, I believe, would be the Jacksonville Jaguars, who pick at pick 56. Jaguars have 50 billion picks. What are it, 2, 4, 6, 8, like 11 picks here? I think for Jacksonville, I mean, the interior offensively and defensively makes sense. Defensive tackle, interior offensive line. Where are we picking again? 56. So you could make the case for Jennings Dunker again if he were there. Couple other considerations would be wide receiver, which I think are needed. Brian Thomas is not looking quite as promising as he did in his rookie year. Jacoby Myers is 29. He's okay. We don't really have that alpha receiver right now. I don't know if we're going to find one, but we could certainly try. Again, interior offensive line makes sense. Also, running back should probably be a consideration. I don't know if Jadarian Price makes it to this point. Possibly looking at a guy like Mike Washington could be a fun addition. But I think for this pick, we're going to have the Jaguars selecting Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver, Alabama. All right, I'm going to get out of here. You all have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.